So I want to say emphatically that simply transformation, as is supposed to come from weeding out all the attachments that one has in the mind. That emptiness, I would say that means, is not filled with some to be greatly valued transformation. It simply gives you, an empty flower bed, an empty vegetable plant. Stripped of thought means stripped of life. Perhaps it's not stripped of thought, it's argued that it leaves all the energies of the mind to some sort of pure contemplation, state of being, not conceivable in the jungle of everyday attachments of the mind, because such confusion saps all our vitality. But there's no hour in this crishnamrrtee type of conception, or even what I think he would claim is a lack of conception of self. There's no such thing as you. That's the Buddhist notion, of course. Where is the self? You can't find it. So the defense comes that we're not transforming self. It's simply a transformation taking place of something, presumably. Well, the weed bed, the jungle of confused attachments and thoughts. If I try and stand back from this, what I take to be simply a misunderstanding. There's the accepted and the obvious that there's no God, no personification of what you value, because the you is a misunderstanding, and possibly also because value is to be attached to some things, and such is automatic imprisonment in this confusion of what we've wrongly understood to be life and our self-life, our own life. What's missing is not, I was going to say just, but I mean that's everything, isn't it? It's not just the personification of God. Forget the word just. It's not the personification of God. Is the personification of God. And that means the concern for others. There are no others because there are no self. the enlightenment experienced? Well, the reply is, this state just cannot be conceived. But if there's no self, and you can't conceive of the state in the state that is, there seems to be no reliability at all in assuming that the state gained is going to be, well, you can't even say what should be, I think. Not sure if there's, in a sense, even ethics in this world. Well, not in this world, in this conception of, I was going to say being, but there's no being. I think we've just embarked on something that, from our point of view here, is just an annihilation of life. I don't see that it's, well, we're not specifically saying joy or hope, or because all these things are experience of a self, and the very notion of self itself, so to speak, is denied in this conception. And what is the conceptual being without some attachment to being? I think it's the equivalent of a death sentence without the hope of glory. You know, if I now compare it with the Jesus story, I'm come that you might have life. You know, he's not come that he has life. He's come that we have life, or they. All I can say is that I'm just filled with gratitude that such is his purpose. I know that the him in the story it's a story. You know, we're not talking about a historicity. It's a conception of a person who is come that we might have life. And what is suggested by such a story person, when practiced, if you find, leads to, if you like, great reward, great benefit, great blessing, great happiness, great joy. And not just for one's narrow self, but is available for all. I mean, you could say the same for the crishnamrrtee type of conception of things. It's available for all, except if there's no self, then there's no other self. It's as if we've taken all the pieces off the chessboard. It's true we now have no battle and no annihilation of one side for the other, or rather no subjection where you overpower the king. But you've no pieces. The game is simply not there to be played. The delusion was to no point except to clear it. Well, it's strongly reminiscent of Buddhism, if not the same as, because it doesn't go for any explanation as to a purposeful being. creating creation. We have no explanation as to why creation exists. If we include karma, we therefore have no understanding of why this justice of karma, if you call it justice, should exist. And it's very, perhaps I'm getting sidetracked talking about karma, but karma seems to give it the hope of some resolution, but why would you want hope if there's no self? Hope itself now becomes something that's only of value here, in the confusion, not in the pure state that's gained by destroying attachment. Attachment is not evil, depending on what you're attached to. If you're attached to destruction, then the killing of life, the destruction of life. You see, most religions actually value, well, I'm not sure, but Christian, Judaic religions value life, by which we mean creativity and self, ongoing and joyful, happy, peaceful, the things that are experienced by a self, ideally in some sense. That's not part of the understanding of Krishnamurti's type solution to the problems of self. It comes to annihilate self, that we get rid of all the problems. But there's no we in this conception. There's no self, there's no us. And if one says there's being, well, one's back to the same argument. Where is this being? It's as if the argument, if right, would destroy itself. I can't help feeling that there's great contradiction in Krishnamurti, and I'm not attracted to, you might think this is trivial, but I'm not attracted to his manner. Do I want to be like that? Does he strike me as a person of joy and loving kindness and hope and peace? And no, he doesn't. He looks as though he's the victim of intense negativity. And I'm much persuaded by such appearance or intuition in my mind. And I feel it's come of my, I agree, limited experience here in this world, but the only experience I have. I'm back to the personification of what I value should be pursued as a priority, to find out if I'm right or wrong and adjust my values accordingly. That a world that gives me the opportunity of doing this is like a classroom, and by the grace of God it's transitory, and my mistakes and difficulties vanish into the past to some purpose. A fullness of life eternal. Communion. A fullness of life, a fullness of self, a fullness of being. love, fellowship, perfect family in our God's understanding of such. Love you, Heavenly Dad. Thank you, Dad. Look, follow the advice, and then reflect on how many people are now like, for instance, Krishnamurti. Well, none claims to be his equal of enlightenment, so to speak. They're all students. Quite simply, they're all trusting that he's right. They just know they don't understand what he's saying. And then you think, why are they trusting what he's right? After all, is he in a state, from their point of view, of being what they want to gain? He looks unhappy. He behaves depressed. He's not a picture of life and joy and creativity, and certainly not a picture of love and peace and goodness. He's certainly not creating. Oh, he's talking, yes. He's philosophizing, yes. In short, we would say he's a philosopher. Perhaps a sort of theological philosopher, in using his philosophy to destroy theology, of course. Now that I can understand. But it doesn't seem to have left him with life, what we value. And from our point of view, it's hardly attractive, what he seems to be. Why on earth would you want to live like Krishnamurti? I mean, perhaps poor chap had a hard time, he lost his brother and it seemed to profoundly affect him. He was being brought up as a messiah by the Theosophical Society, the great avatar of the matriarch, whatever, or at least something pretty close to it, the prophet of such. In terms of life and happiness, he seems to be decapitated like John the Baptist. Quite simply, you see, we do what children do. We look at someone, we think, do I want to be like them? No way. And finally they find someone they do want to be like, and they follow him. Why on earth would you want to be like Krishnamurti? His talks drive me insane. That's not the same as reading Jesus in the Gospels. Not at all. He would say, thank God, but for the fact he doesn't think God exists, doesn't want to, and it's not clear he exists either. Seems to raise a few problems. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.